Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to another episode of our Entitled People. Where in today's episode, you'll hear some super crazy entitled stories as always. So get comfy, grab a snack, grab a drink, because we're about to dive in, guys. And do hit that subscribe button for future stories. When I was 15 years old, I attended a very religious Baptist school. And at 15 years old, I really wanted to dye my hair. My mother always had, and I was excited about trying something other than the dishwasher brown I had. I begged, and my mom finally said it was okay as long as it wasn't permanent. Now, I desperately wanted the color red, so off to Walmart we went. We found a foam mousse that said it lasted 2 weeks. The box says auburn, which was sweet. It was a natural color. So we go to dye my hair, and when it comes out, it's like red. Like fire hydrant, Little Mermaid, cherry popsicle red. But it looks great. Now I'm thrilled, but I'm also nervous and ask my mom if she thinks it'll be okay and if I'll get in trouble. My mom works as a teacher's assistant at the school and she says she doesn't think it'll be a problem. And we head to school the next day. So also on this day, we're doing a volunteer day to stack wood for an old man. Welcome to New England. So I get to school and once inside, the hat comes off. I get loads of compliments from classmates and teachers too, and all is well. But not for this one girl. She's got a face like a shrunken sphincter, and she's been glaring at me all morning. I hate this goody two-shoes. She's the type of girl who pretends to be so well-mannered in front of everybody, but behind closed doors is completely opposite. So I ignore her. Well, her mom happens to be the receptionist for the school, and she knows that her daughter and I don't get along well, so she doesn't like me either. About 11 a.m., I get hauled out of class and into the principal's office. I'm not sure what's going on, but I get there and the girl's mom and the principal are glaring at me. The girl's mom claims that I was bragging to everybody that I didn't have to follow the rules, and knows because her daughter told her. Her daughter also told her that I thought I wouldn't get in trouble because my mom works at the school. Now my mom is a second grade teacher's assistant. I'm in high school. Also, I haven't said anything to anybody. Now this is where things get crazy. So the mom tells the principal that she doesn't think that I reflect godly values with my sinner's hair. And the principal agrees, and that I'm not allowed to go help stack an old man's firewood because I don't represent Christ with my sinner's hair. Now at this point I leave the office clearly upset, and my old teacher catches me and asks what's going on. I explain, and then head to the classroom to hang out while everybody goes and volunteers. On the way, I pass the mom and daughter talking, and she smirks at me. But the old teacher has other plans, and she's legit the best woman ever. She goes and finds my mom, knowing this whole thing is BS. My mom loses her mind, and I'm in the room that's next door to the principal's office, and it shares a wall, and I can hear her yelling. She goes up one side and down the other saying that she doesn't know what the mom's problem is, but if they had half a brain, they'd know that Karen likes to stir up drama. And that I'm a 15-year-old who has zero history of causing trouble, and that it's just red hair. So 5 minutes later, the principal and a fuming Karen are in my classroom prison to say that while they don't think my hair is Christ-like, I can go to the volunteer day, but I will need to wear a hat the whole time I stack wood. And also, I'd like to think that I was the best firewood stacker they had. Guys, I'm so glad OP's mom came in and stood her ground against this ridiculous hair color thing. Like, is dyeing your hair a red color really frowned upon in a Baptist school? A lot of people in the comments of the post say that it's a super ridiculous thing, so I'd like to think not. And I do appreciate this person's comment right here. This person says, imagine how pathetic a person has gotta be when they feel they need to pick on a little girl for the color of her hair. Ain't that the truth, guys? Ain't that the truth? So, when I was 11 years old, my dad bought me a cat for my birthday. He was an orange fluff ball named Angelo, and I loved him very much. Everything was my responsibility. Cleaning the litter box, giving him food, brushing him, etc. Anything you need to do to take care of a cat. So a year later, I get a tiny gray kitten named Dexter. They were both my babies. And then the world falls apart. Now, I never believed in the wicked stepmother stereotype until this. My dad and stepmom's fighting got worse and worse, to the point where she would hit my dad. Her and her son did nothing but complain about the things my dad did. So my dad got out of there, and I went to stay with my mom while he looked for a new place to live. Everything was going fine, until things started getting split in the divorce. Now, by terms of the divorce, 1, her son's car had to be put in her name, so my dad wouldn't pay for it. And 2, all of my dad's and my things had to be returned to our new apartment. 3, I get to keep my cats. So apparently my stepmom did not like number 3. She wouldn't return my cats, saying that she now owned them in the divorce. My dad contacted his lawyer multiple times to try to get Angelo and Dexter, but she kept refusing. Finally, my dad threatened to take her to court so that he could get the cats back. Now, my entitled stepmom hated me and thought the best thing for her to do for me to not get my cats back is for her to release my cats in the middle of nowhere. That's right, she drove to the middle of nowhere and just let them go. We have a lot of coyotes near where we live, so unless they were picked up by someone, they were most definitely killed. After that, she packed her things and left the state. I do miss my cats and haven't been able to get any since Angelo and Dexter, but I really hope to get one in the future. But I do have a new stepmom now, and she's the nicest person in the world, so it's sort of a happy ending. Guys, that stepmother is definitely a terrible person. Like, she literally thought it was a better move to release the cats in the middle of nowhere than to give the cats back to an 11-year-old. What a despicable human being. So OP does come back with an update, and it says, so a lot of people have been saying that we should sue for animal cruelty because of what my stepmom did. But the big reason we didn't is because even if we sued, it wouldn't bring my cats back. We tried calling the shelters and putting up missing posters, but we never found anything. Even if we sued, it would give money and not my cats. No amount of money would be able to bring back those 2 cats, and at the time, I wasn't ready to just replace them. Guys, I totally think OP's dad should have taken her to court. Didn't she violate the terms of divorce by not giving the cats back to their rightful owner? Like, there should be some repercussions to that, right? My friends, if you have the answer, please leave it in the comments below. I had served in both the regular army and the Special Operations Forces community for just over 10 years when an opportunity arose. It was an assignment in the middle of nowhere, but was near what I claimed to be my hometown. I would later find out that the job was horrible, but that has nothing to do with this story. We had been in small town USA for a couple of months. We had pretty much settled in. My wife and I were not exactly mentally prepared though. Both sets of grandparents, specifically grandmas, had been away from their grandchildren since they were born. And they were like flies at the house for the first couple of months. It was finally starting to subside when this happened. Now, I should mention that my mom is a little bit different. At least I think she is. I've always been the independent type, and I rarely, if ever, call home. Now, it's not because I don't love my parents or friends. I just don't feel the need to talk unless I really have something to say. And I feel less of a need to call my mother. So generally speaking, don't expect a phone call from me. My mom is scattered and typically has nothing useful to say. She likes to gossip, but she's the lady in the chain of gossipers that twists information and relays the wrong facts, or tries to convince me of things. So typical phone calls from my mother are like this. The phone would ring and I would pick up and say, hello? And my mom would say, hey, what are you doing? I'd tell her nothing, and she would say, remember Jim Bob? No, I don't remember Jim Bob. Yeah, you do. You went to the pool with him once and you were 6 months old when we lived in Germany. I told her, sorry mom, I don't remember Jim Bob. Yes, you do. No mom, I don't remember him. Well, anyway, he died. I thought you'd want to know. Now, dear reader, this happens all the time. I have spoken on the phone with her no more than 20 times in the last decade, and at least 10 people I don't know have died. Now, this is unrelated, but this is our last conversation. My mom calls me in the middle of the night. It's literally 2 a.m. I'm groggy, and I pick up and say, hello? Mom says, hi, you sound sleepy, what are you doing? I told her, Mom, I'm sleeping. Oh, you're having a midday nap? No, Mom, it's 2 in the morning, I'm sleeping. She then asks what country I'm in, and I tell her Lebanon, and she asked, what are you doing there? I tell her army work. She then says, so, I just called you to tell you that a random lady who used to watch you wrestle in high school passed away. Just thought you'd want to know. Love you. Bye. Anyway, back to small town USA. It's a Saturday, and I'm looking forward to having some time off. My wife was a swing shift ICU nurse at the time, and she was at work. I was at home with our 2 kids, ages 2 and 6. It was just the men at the house. I had woken up, fed the humans, and plopped them down in the living room to watch Paw Patrol while I took a shower. I finished my shower and conduct another inventory, but something's missing. My 2-year-old is missing. Now, he's a bipedal monster, so I don't think much of it. I just ask my 6-year-old where his brother is, and I get the typical shoulder shrug response. Great. I now have a 3,200 square foot house to work with. The first sweep was unsuccessful. The second sweep was unsuccessful. I now enlist the help of my 6-year-old to help find the speed demon. We are now 10 sweeps in, and I'm panicking. Now, no husband ever wants to call their wife and say, "Babe, you know our 2-year-old son? Yeah, that one. Do you know where he's at?" But I was there though. The house we lived in was old, and the locks on some of the doors were different. And some were very complicated to open. Now, I know for a fact that my son could not penetrate the front door. It was just not physically possible. But this dude is Houdini. He was an escape artist. And I was at my wit's end. I had to call my wife. The conversation went exactly and how anyone would expect it to go. She was worried, and she was hysterical. There was no way that I would ever hold that #1 dad coffee mug ever again. So I do one last sweep under the direction of my wife, but now it was time to hand in my man/parent card and call the police. So I dial 911, and the lady picks up and says, "911, what's your emergency?" I tell her I lost my son, and she says, "Sir, you lost your child?" I told her, yes, I took a shower and now my 2-year-old is missing. I've checked the house many times and he's not there. The lady then asked for my location, and I give her my address, and she asked what my son was wearing. I tell her Thomas the Tank Engine shirt. It's blue, and he's also wearing a diaper. She was in the middle of asking where I last saw him when something catches my eye. A car had just parked in front of my house, and it was my mother. Great. I'm now about to have a mom conversation about how I lost my son. So I'm dreading the fact that I have 911 on the line, and I'm about to tell my mother the dreaded news. And then I see him, my toddler. I kindly explained to 911 that I had found my human, and I was seething with anger. I'm usually a happy-go-lucky guy. I'm super calm, even in firefights. I simply don't stress out that much, but this was not the case. I go charging out of the house when I see my mom with him. I scream, "What in the world do you think you're doing?" My mom, calm and shocked, said, "What? I just went to the grocery store. With my child. You took my child. When and how did you get into my house?" Mom says, "I got here when you were showering. The front door was locked, so I went around back and waved at Kelly, my 6-year-old, to open the door. I just thought Cake, my 2-year-old, would like to go." I tell her, "Mom, you basically stole my kid." She then chuckles and says, "No, I didn't. You can't steal family. I told Kelly to tell you that I was taking Cake." Now, a little side note, Paw Patrol is like trance for your kids. The goddamn rapture could happen around the kids while they're watching cartoons and they are unaware. I said, "You told Kelly? You told my 6-year-old to relay a message to me? You thought that that would work? Did you make that message contingent on a toy because he didn't know where his brother was?" Mom says, "Well, I told him." I then tell her, "Yeah, Mom, and you just waltzed in here and stole my kid." And then she says it. She says, "I'm grandma. I can take him whenever I want, okay? I have the right to see my grandbabies whenever I want. I'm not some sort of lunatic that doesn't love him." I tell her again that she stole my kid, and she says, "Oh, I just took him. Relax." No, Mom, it's not called took. It's called kidnapping. I called 911. So my mom then says, "You called 911? I didn't kidnap him. He's back here, isn't he? You called 911 on your own mother?" I told her, "You walked into my house without me knowing and took one of my kids." Mom then says, "I screamed out. I thought you knew." Now at this point, I just lost it. She went on and on trying to convince me of her point, and I wasn't having it. I was beyond mad. I called my dad to get his opinion, and he just laughed and said, "Uh-oh, grandma's in trouble." She was leaving anyway, so I couldn't kick her out. It didn't even concern her mentally. She was oblivious to the gravity and severity of the situation. But I wasn't done yet, though. Now, it just so happened that this specific weekend was a 4-day weekend for me. I had the next 2 days off with my boys, and my mom was unaware. She called on Sunday and asked what time I was dropping the boys off at. Now, I had a light bulb moment. We had just adopted a new dog that was crate training, and let me capitalize on this. I told her, "Hey, do you think you can watch the boys at my house so you can take Lola out? I don't want her in the cage all day." Mom then replies, "Sure, I can do that." Great. My mom would be at my house from around 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Even better, my dad would be at work as well. So my mom arrives at the house, still oblivious that I was angry. No worries, I have 12 hours to work out my frustration. So I depart the house and promptly arrive at her house. I find the spare key and I let myself in. I then proceed to reorganize everything, and I mean everything. It didn't take long to do the living room. I just moved the couch, moved the love seats, moved my father's chair, the coffee table, the TV, everything gets rearranged. I even moved pictures from wall to wall and used sticky tack to hang them upside down or all wonky. Moving into a new place can be a hassle during military moves, and I love cooking. The kitchen and woodshop are my sanctuaries, and it's a pain in the ass to move to a new kitchen and get things where you want them. But what's not a pain is reorganizing someone else's kitchen. Everything from top to bottom was reorganized. The powder room was close to the kitchen, so I put the plates under the sink in the powder room and the toilet paper in the kitchen drawers. Again, everything was moved. I worked my way through the house, ensuring that nothing was left untouched. The only room I didn't enter was the master bedroom, for fear of finding anything I don't want to see and get scarred for life by, if you catch my drift. I did, however, take great pride in her cricket room to ensure that I had moved everything. My last act of screw you mom in the house was taking every single remote in the house. TV, DVR, cable, lights, you name it. If it was a remote, it was now in my possession. I then returned home at normal time. The changeover was typical. She asked me how my day was, and let me tell you, it was a satisfying day of work for me. She acted as if the kidnapping event had never happened, and she was about to be reminded that I didn't forget. It was time to crack a beer, play with the boys, and wait for that phone to ring. So a little while later, the phone rings, and it's my mom. Now, remember that she is my mom, and I do love her, but she's also different. She asked, "Hey, were you at the house today?" I asked her, "What? Did you stop by the house today? I think we were robbed." Now at this point I'm laughing and thinking, robbed? Yeah, robbers typically break in and rearrange everything. So I told her, yes, I stopped by the house. My mom then asked, "So you rearranged the living room?" Just as she says this, my dad gets home during the conversation. I can hear my dad talking as he enters the house, and he says, "What the heck?" I can then hear my dad say, "Carla, what did you do to the house?" I can hear my mom say, "I didn't do it, your son did." Now, she was oblivious still looking at the living room. She then laughs a bit, and we conclude the conversation. I'm now baffled. So a little while later, the phone rings again, and mom says, "Where in the hell are my pots and pans? And why is there toilet paper under the kitchen sink? Toilet paper does not go there." I can hear my dad again in the background going, "Where's the remote, Carla?" I hooked everything back up, and I just moved it. Things still worked. And I can hear my dad in the background saying, "Carla, remote." My mother is now walking through the house. She arrives in her arts and crafts cricket room. She then says, "Oh my god, what did you do?" I told her I reorganized everything for you. At this point, there's a pause, and I can hear my dad say, Carla, where is the remote for the TV?" My mom then asked me where are the remotes, and I said, "Oh, I took them. Mom, I called out your name. I thought you heard me." She now explains to my father, and there was some hysterical laughter in the background. Mom then says, "I'm on my way over." So mom arrives at the house, and I'm willing to break bread and settle this under one condition. I told her, "All you have to say is that you're sorry for kidnapping my child and you won't ever do it again." Mom then says, "I didn't kidnap your child. I just took him for a ride and brought him back home." I then tell her, you want the remotes back, right? You have to say, "OP, I'm sorry for kidnapping your son, and I will never do it again." Mom says, "I'm sorry for kidnapping Cake, and I will never do it again." I thank my mom, and she asks what time I'm dropping the boys off tomorrow. And I said, I think you should come here until you figure out where your pots and pans are. So my mom shows up at 6 o'clock. And that's that. Military life is different, really different, and I never thought in a million years that I would live in my hometown and still be in the army. It was great times. I was totally not expecting all the things that came with living in my hometown after being away for over a decade. The grandparents really wanted to make up for years of not seeing them, and they did. Now, there were obviously some learning struggles, and Mom did admit defeat, and my dad eventually got his remotes back. Everybody won, and she is still a little bit crazy, but I do love her, but boy is she different. My friends, I definitely love the little revenge that OP got on his mom. And Mom definitely should have said something to OP and not his 6-year-old when she came and took the 2-year-old. That must have been such a terrifying, heart-stopping moment to come out of the shower and have your 2-year-old just gone. Guys, I can't even imagine what would have happened if Grandma decided to take him somewhere for the whole day. Like, not just to the store and back. With that said though, family doesn't mean you can just come and take your grandkids whenever you feel like it. Like, you still need permission from the parents. Entitlement does shine a little bit with the grandma, but hey, at least she wasn't a lunatic, and the kids are safe, right? And that brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you had a good laugh at that last story because I sure as heck did enjoy it so much. And if you enjoyed the stories today, do hit that like button. If you missed the last episode on the channel, a Karen kidnaps OP's cats and then calls the cops when OP tries to take her cat back. It's such a ridiculous story, so go take a listen if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. #SaveStevo.
Help.
I love you.